This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London. All of our podcasts are available from our website, www.sas.ac.uk.
I'm the director of the Institute of Classical Studies, which is on the building next door, and I'm speaking on behalf of Philip Hardy and Peter Mack, who's the director of this institute, to welcome you to this conference and to say a word or two about what we are hoping will happen. But first of all, I want to offer you a couple of heroes of the occasion, one of whom, as Ovidians, I'm sure you're all expecting, because this conference is, as you know, happening on the nones of March. And what happens in Ovid's Fasti on the nones of March is that Romulus, who is our first hero, stands on the Capitoline, well, conceptually on the Capitoline, between the two sacred groves, and he announces that everybody can come. He sets up his asylum. It must be obvious to anybody that really he was talking about the Warburg Institute. You understand, this is a reception studies occasion, and my reception of those lines, and of course the famous line is Quilibet huc dixit confugi tutus eris. Let everybody come here, or let anyone wants to come here, he will be safe. And of course, the Warburg was a great asylum. That's what it's doing here in London, after all. That's why it's here. So in that sense, he was thinking of the 30s and the 40s. But he's also thinking of now, because there are two sacred groves. One sacred grove is the sacred gardens of Woburn Square, and the other is Gordon Square over there. And you may think we're not exactly between the two, because if we were, we'd be in the middle of the road. But conceptually, again, we're between the two. So I think we should have Romulus as our first hero of the day. The second hero I'd like just to mention, because I worked with him for many years, is Arnaldo Momigliano, who is himself, of course, a great Warburg figure and a great supporter of the Warburg. He was the man who set out a programme, which in a sense is the programme to which we are, I suppose, responding, that if you want to understand anything about antiquity, you have to understand the thoughts of successive generations about it. So you can't, as it were, start thinking about Thucydides until you know both Thucydides and his context, and 5th century Greece, and also how he was received in successive centuries from the Renaissance onwards. I used to tease him, and one could tease him, though it was a dangerous occupation, I assure you, but to tease him, what he was really saying was you couldn't start doing research on anything until you knew everything, and therefore nobody would ever say anything again if you won. Well, I hope that's not going to be the message of this conference. I hope it's going to devote itself to what we see as its purpose, which is to bring together two streams. One is the traditional Warburg stream with great depth, which has been going on for many years in the study of the classical tradition one way and another, and the other is the vigorous newcomer, reception studies, which none of us expected, which sprang into life. I don't quite know how, perhaps he does, perhaps Philip does. That is a vigorous new stream, but the two have not come together as we think they should. So this is a deliberate attempt to bring together two perspectives, if you like, on how to understand the history of the classical texts. It's the first of a series of conferences. There's another one in May about Plutarch. We're hoping to plan 2 more next year, and we hope that we or our successors will carry on with that tradition, and we hope it's going to be a really important development. That's our idea. You will have seen that we are planning to publish this conference, and we'd like all speakers to note that you have 3 months to get us your papers. The nones of June, which, as far as I know, Ovid doesn't say anything at all, but perhaps some of you can quote that. I don't think anything happened on the nones of June. But anyway, I think we'll give you to the end of June. But we would like the papers back for publication in a short space of time. We want that remembered and not forgotten. We have a very tight schedule of papers today, so I'm not going to take us beyond 11 o'clock. I hope there's going to be time between papers for questions, and we have a question session at the end. But without more ado, and I might say we're not going to do any introductions. We assume that all speakers are known to everybody. And first speaker is Frank Coulson here from Ohio State, who of course is an expert on Ovid in the Middle Ages, and he's going to start us with his paper on Bernardo Moretti, a newly discovered humanist commentator on Ovid's Ibis.